It took every ounce of energy for this guy to get the bar in place. It was literally a greater workout, more of an effort to get the dumbbells in place than it was actually to press them up. Coach Greg, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how not to lift. Oftentimes we show people the best form, what you should do, but what we really need is an example of something not to do. A lot more relatable. And so if you look anything like this when you go to the gym, you need to leave your ego at the door. The guy clearly looks jacked and he's filming himself, and so he feels pretty strong. He wants to impress people, and so he's got some really heavy dumbbells about to do incline dumbbell chest press. And because the dumbbells are so heavy, he attempts to get one dumbbell up at a time. He doesn't have a spotter, and so he tries to kick one of the dumbbells up and then pull it with his arms. And although he does seem to have massive arms, he simply doesn't have the strength in the biceps to carry that weight into position. If you're liking this video, press the subscribe button right now. Back to the video. And what I really like about this is the effort and determination of this guy. He's not a quitter. He tries to get it up, can't do it, and he's grunting, groaning, cursing, thinking, why isn't this going up? And after repeated attempts, he finally gets one of the dumbbells in place. Attempt two. Deep breath.
Oh, baby. Oh, yeah.
And after repeated attempts and screams, he finally gets the second bar in place. The guy has no quit in him. Multiple attempts, he's like, come on, get up there. If only I could get this other dumbbell in place. Deep breaths, gets prepared, he's in the zone. And after all that trouble, he then proceeds to bang out 5 or 6 half reps. Notice he only lowers the bar halfway down. And so why does this guy think he needs to lift such a heavy weight? All that weight, risking injury. Does anyone want to debate me? Does this look safe? Does it look like he couldn't pull a bicep? It took every ounce of energy for this guy to get the bar in place. It was literally a greater workout, more of an effort to get the dumbbells in place than it was actually to press them up. And one thing I'd like to point out is when his arms are at full extension, notice the bicep. Does it look suspicious to you? Does it look like a normal looking bicep? And so if you're thinking, how could this guy look so strong? Look at the size of the arms. How could he not curl that weight up into position? Well, the reason is because that is not a normal looking arm. Now, if you're not familiar with anatomy, if you don't have a trained eye, you haven't seen this before, you perhaps think, well, that's just normal. It is not. This is the result of site enhancement oil. Could be Synthol, could be other things. But that is not a normal looking arm. And so what's being done is they're injecting oil under the muscle and it pushes the muscle out. Sometimes it looks 100% natural, you can't tell. But if you use too much, do it over and over again, it eventually will not look normal. And so it's my opinion that the reason he can't lift these weights up is because his arms are not as strong as he looks. They're huge, sure, yes, of course they are. But it's not because it's a lot of muscle. There's a lot of oil making the muscle appear large. You may have seen this in professional bodybuilding, and well, if you've ever watched professional bodybuilding, you'll see this all the time. Guys like Big Ramy, Hadi Chopin, just to name a few, they have oil injected under the muscles to make them appear larger than life. But oftentimes you can tell. I'm a certified judge. I see it all the time in competitions. And doing this, it can in fact be dangerous. You could in fact hit a nerve, artery, or vein, and so this can in fact lead to difficulties later down the road. But if it takes you longer to get the bar into position than it does to actually perform the set, it is not worth it. Unless this guy perhaps is a professional strongman competitor and he simply needs to be able to do this, then aside from that, I can't see any reason to train like this. If you count the time under tension of the muscle during that set, it's very low, 10 seconds or less. And if you're trying to build muscle to look jacked, which this guy clearly does, he's injecting oil after all. If he was just a strongman competitor, injecting oil is not going to help him lift any more weight. Just because you have a huge arm doesn't mean it's a strong arm. And so if your goal is muscle hypertrophy, please use a realistic weight. Something you can lift for multiple reps. There's no reason to be doing sets of 5 or less. Very dangerous. And if you can't even get the bar into position under control, how do you expect to lift it without getting injured? And so if you see a guy that their arms just don't look normal, they're huge, sure, but they just don't look normal. There's something off about it. It means it's not actually muscle. There's oil in there. Like this guy who can't even eat his supper. He's got fries, burgers, wings, and so on. He can't get the food to his mouth because his arms are so full of oil. They look massive, sure, but it's not real. And so he's struggling to get the food into the mouth. He's got a fork. He can't bend his arm enough to eat. And so is it worth it? Do you really think you're fooling anyone? Everything should be done in moderation. Perhaps a little bit makes you look better, but if you take it too far, it's just going to look out of proportion. For example, women's lips. Stop it! Stop going too far. Sure, a little bit can help, but eventually it just looks ridiculous. And if you think it's impressing other people, you're wrong. People aren't liking it, and if they are, they're just trying to be nice. Oh, I love your lips. It's so amazing. They're just saying that. Ever heard somebody say, oh, you look great in that dress? No, there's no weight at all. They're just being nice. People tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. And so what that guy needed to hear is, that dumbbell, it's too heavy. Lighten it by 20 pounds, lift it for full range of motion, actually go down to your chest on each rep. You're not fooling anyone. Those arms, we can see it. It's popping out where it shouldn't. And so there's no way he could convince me that using that heavy a dumbbell was something he needed to do to help in his training. If the dumbbells were 20 pounds lighter, he'd still struggle to get them into position. But at least he'd have a little bit more control, could get a few more reps, increase time under tension, get better form, increase mind-muscle connection, and the end result would be bigger, better, more quality muscles, and he wouldn't have as great a chance of injury. Hopefully you learned something. Leave your egos at the door. It's all about moderation. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm. Watch the bloops. Interested in harder than last time supplements? Please use code Greg, 10% off. You can get the Seco bars, protein powder, creatine, Ecti Builder, cookbooks, coaching plans by me and my team, training books, the Circle Diet book. So much going on. Click the links in the description. And until next time, I'm out.